Hello music fans, you're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. Now that October 2025 is over, it's time to count down my 10 favorite albums of October 2025. Before I do that, I'll kick off with 3 honorable mentions. Unprocessed with their album Angel gets an honorable mention. Flaming Row with Keeper of the Scriptures gets an honorable mention, and Squeaky Feet with the Overview Effect gets an honorable mention. Great albums there. Wish I could have put them in the top 10 because they're all amazing, but I had to narrow it down to 10. I listened to a lot of great stuff this month. It was a really great month, October 2025. There is a masterpiece at the end, so stay tuned for that. Number 10 is Ring Band Mobius with Firebrand. This one is symphonic progressive rock, and it's in my excellent tier. Check out the title track for a preview of this. This is the 4th album by Ring Band Mobius. They're from Norway, and apparently this will be their last, unfortunately. I thought their 3rd album, Commissioned Works Part 2, 6 Drops of Poison, was an excellent album, like all their previous albums were. If you're a fan of Emerson, Lake and Palmer and King Crimson, you definitely need to check out Ring Band Mobius. The whole album sounds like it could have been made and released in the early 70s. There's only 3 tracks on the album, and one is just over 13 minutes long, and another is just over 24 minutes long, so they have a couple epics here. And this one just continues their streak of excellence. It makes me sad that this is the last album by Ring Band Mobius. It just earned them a spot in my ever-growing list of favorite bands, given how consistently excellent they are, and I just wish they would keep going. Number 9 is Times Forgotten with Songs of Awakening. This is progressive metal and also in my excellent tier. Check out the track A Light for a preview here. This is their 5th album. Times Forgotten is from Costa Rica, which is not a country that I know too many bands from. They're probably the only Costa Rican band that I listen to, but it is a great country that I've been to, very beautiful. I never heard an album by Times Forgotten before this one, but I enjoyed that single A Light, so that's what put it on my radar. I've since gone back and listened to their previous work, and it's all great stuff. This album, Songs of Awakening, just has great female clean vocals across the whole album. Genty guitar playing. It's like a female-fronted Haken or Dream Theater. That sounds good to you. Check out Songs of Awakening by Times Forgotten. At number 8, I've got an EP by Rolo Tomassi called In the Echo of All Dreams. This is mathcore with progressive rock, post-metal, post-rock, metalcore, pop, gent, industrial metal, and post-hardcore influences. They blend a lot of different styles of beautiful and heavy and extreme all together. And it's also my excellent tier. Check out the track Tempest for a preview. Rolo Tomassi is a British band, and I love this band. Great female vocals here as well, just like in the last one, Times Forgotten. But in this one, we have Eva Corman, and she can not only sing beautifully, she can scream with the best of them, and she continues to impress me. And this EP just continues my love for them. All of their albums are near masterpieces. They're very consistent in quality. But this EP is only 15 minutes long, so I just wish it was longer. If it was full album length, I would put it in my near masterpiece tier, but since it's so short, it left me wanting more, so I'm just putting it in my excellent tier. But if you're a fan of Pupil Slicer, I Wrestled the Bear Once, The Dillinger Escape Plan, The Number 12 Looks Like You, and Fall of Troy, definitely check this out. You'll like this from Rolo Tomassi, The Echo of All Dreams. At number 7, I have Thrice with Horizons West. This is post-hardcore with alternative rock, hard rock, and art rock influences. Check out the track Blackout for a preview of this. This is their 12th album. Thrice is an American band, and they're not a band that plays in one of my top 3 genres. They're not a prog metal band, they're not a prog rock band, they're not a metalcore band, but they're still easily in my top 25 favorite bands of all time. They're my favorite post-hardcore band. Probably 5 of my top 10 post-hardcore albums would be Thrice albums. In particular, I love the 3-album run from The Artist in the Ambulance in 2003, Vesu in 2005, and The Alchemy Index Volume 1 and 2, Fire and Water, in 2007. I feel Thrice is kind of a progressive band. They're hard to categorize in a genre. Nowadays, though, they're almost more like alternative folk rock with hard rock, but they still have those post-hardcore roots. And unlike most post-hardcore bands, they don't have that super high-pitched emo-sounding vocal, that voice. In their more modern albums, actually, Dustin sings with a lower, raspier, soulful voice. And yeah, every album they made is at least very good, except maybe their debut, which is still good, but a little bit more on the raw screamo side, since they were really young when they made that. So I was looking forward to this continuation here. Their last album was Horizons East, and this one's Horizons West, so they're kind of a pair. And back in 2008, Thrice pretty much abandoned their harsh vocal sound. They only really just brought them back for about one song per album, starting with in 2016. So the vast majority of the vocals here on this album are clean. The songs can be stripped back to their core to be simple singer-songwriter songs, great chord progressions, melodies, and lyrics. But the band also adds awesome guitar riffs, bass, keyboards, and drum arrangements on top of these tracks. They occasionally use odd time signatures to make these seemingly simple tracks very interesting. And I like this album a bit better than Horizons East. It's in the same ballpark, and I don't quite like it as much as their stuff from like their second album to their sixth, which is my favorite period. But Blackout's a great track to kick off the album, and then the second track, Nash, is the heaviest track on the album, one of the only ones to prominently feature some harsh vocals. At number 6, I've got Wiltwither with Pure Light. This is mathcore with progressive metalcore and gent influences. And this is where we enter my near masterpiece tier. Everything before this has just been in my excellent tier, but I think this one's a near masterpiece. Check out the track Worst Case Scenario for a preview of this. And this is a debut album. Great genty mathcore for fans of the Tony Danza tap dance extravaganza, but also with some great clean vocal moments too for people who like their mathcore with some hooks like the Callous Dowboys, the Dillinger Escape Plan, and Rolo Tomassi, who I mentioned earlier on this list. And this one's on 3 Dot Recording, which is Periphery's label. One of the best debuts I've heard all year. Check out Pure Light by Wiltwither. All right, we're at the halfway point. Number 5, we've got Psychonaut with World Maker. This is progressive post-metal with atmospheric sludge metal, psychedelic, and doom metal influences. Check out the track Endless Currents here for a preview. This is the third album by this Belgian band, Psychonaut, and I've never listened to an album of theirs before this, but this is another one where I went back and listened to everything by them after I heard this. If you're a fan of The Ocean, Cult of Luna, Mastodon, definitely check this out. Also, if you're a fan of Hippotractor, definitely check this out. They have a member in common here, which is, what's his name? Stefan de Graaf, doing vocals with both Hippotractor and Psychonaut. I think he plays guitar in one of the bands too, I forget which one. Endless Currents just has that great riff and great build up throughout the song where it starts out beautiful, peaceful, and hypnotic with clean vocals. And then at the end, it gets heavy and powerful with the harsh vocals. And they're on the same label as The Ocean, that Pelagic Records label, which I think The Ocean runs that label. Like in the last one I mentioned, Wiltwither's on the label that Periphery runs. So I think The Ocean and Hippotractor are the closest comparisons here for Psychonaut, and if you like either of those bands, you have to check this out. World Maker by Psychonaut. At number 4, I've got Dissona with their album Receptor. This one's also my near masterpiece tier. And this is symphonic progressive metal with gent and gothic metal influences. This is Dissona's fourth album. They're an American band, and they're very symphonic. They're very cinematic, epic, theatrical prog metal with lots of groovy rhythms. One of the tracks on here, Incisor, had an interesting twist in it where it went into an EDM dance beat vibe for just under a minute, and then it goes back into prog metal. And Weaponize is an amazing track. Currently my favorite here. I love the rhythm, love the intensity. Red Mist is the third last track that has some harsh vocals after almost the whole album up to that point was entirely clean vocals. There was maybe the odd harsh vocal here and there before that, but it's very much a clean vocal focused album with a couple moments of harshness. That sounds good to you. Check out Receptor by Dissona. At number 3, I've got Hail the Sun with Cut, Turn, Fade Back. This is post-hardcore, emo, screamo with progressive rock and math rock influences. And it's in my near masterpiece tier. Check out the track The Drooling Class for a preview. Really catchy chorus on that. And this is their 7th album. Hail the Sun's an American band that I love. I saw them live with Between the Buried and Me. They put on an amazing show. And they have to be up there now as one of the best post-hardcore emo bands around. All the singles from this were great. So I was really looking forward to this, and I love all their albums. They do mostly clean vocals. They have catchy hooks, and that high-pitch emo vocal style. I know that style can be grating for some people, myself included sometimes, but the vocal performances here are technically great. They have some harsh vocals as well from time to time when they want to get heavy. And when they do, they can get heavy enough to start a mosh pit. That's not really what they're about, though. Their guitar playing is fast, their riffs can be intricate, they're approaching the greatness of bands like Chiodos and Idola. I think they're already better than Dance Gavin Dance for me at this style of fast guitar post-hardcore. And I think Hail the Sun and Greyhaven are both on course now to take the crowns for this style. If they can put out 1 or 2 more albums as great as this, they could become the kings of this style. And speaking of Greyhaven, after mentioning Hail the Sun at number 3, I have to mention Greyhaven at number 2 with Keep It Quiet. This is another post-hardcore one, but this has more leanings towards metalcore and mathcore, and some progressive rock, punk, alternative metal in there too. And my favorite track on here right now is Cemetery Sun. And this is their 4th album. Greyhaven's an American band. And I thought their last EP, Stereo Grief from 2024, was just excellent. And their last 2 full-length albums were near masterpieces, and they're continuing that streak of greatness. The singles I heard ahead of this album were Burn a Miracle, Cemetery Sun, and Where the Light Leaves Us. They're all really amazing, so I was excited for this. And all in all, I think this is their best album yet. Another near masterpiece. If you're a fan of Every Time I Die, Idola, Better Lovers, Hail the Sun, Dance Gavin Dance, Vanna, the Callous Cowboys, the Dillinger Escape Plan, imagine mixing those bands together. It's another release in that fast guitar post-hardcore category. Kind of like, I know some people call this scene like swancore. I don't know if they exactly fit into it. I think Hail the Sun and Dance Gavin Dance are more in that style, and this one's a little bit more kind of dirty and southern sounding, so not exactly the swancore sound, but they've got that perfect mix of clean and harsh vocals where the cleans have really catchy, almost pop punk level of catchiness, but the harsh vocals in the heavier part could be among the most mosh pit inducing vocals of the year. And the singles they chose are probably my favorite tracks on the album, with Cemetery Sun as my favorite. That closes the album. Burn a Miracle is a close second. Will Putney, the guitarist from Fit for an Autopsy and Better Lovers, he produces this album, and his production is always great. He's produced albums for Every Time I Die, and of course his own band, Better Lovers, and I love both of those bands as well. So check out Greyhaven if you like the sounds of that with Keep It Quiet. And now we've reached my number one, the true masterpiece of the month, which is An Abstract Illusion with their album The Sleeping City. And this one's atmospheric progressive death metal. And my favorite track on here is Emmet. This is the third album by this Swedish band, An Abstract Illusion. And I knew if this one was going to be as good as their last two albums, it would be a strong contender to be among my top 5 albums of the year. And amazingly, they hit it out of the park again, pretty much on par with their last album. And I still haven't decided which I like better. But if you're a fan of Neobliviscaris, Kardashev, Persephone, Wilderun, Opeth, Xanthocroid, you have to check this out. The opening track, Black Murmur, has vocals with more of a black metal feel to them. The album features some guest musicians playing violins and cellos. Most of the vocals on here are harsh, but there's some great clean vocal moments too. And this album more prominently features synthesizers, which is an interesting twist. Gotta love the track Emmet, but every track on here is amazing, as is every moment in those tracks. So that's my favorite album of October 2025, An Abstract Illusion, The Sleeping City. What did you think of my list? Let me know down in the comments. And did anything else come out in October 2025 that you like? Share your list as well if you've got a top 10, or if you haven't listened to as much as I have, your top 5 or top 3 or whatever you want to share. I'm always looking for new music to check out that I would love. And I do these top 10 albums of the month videos every month, but also throughout the month, I put out my first impressions of albums each week as they come out. So if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and stay in the loop on when I post new videos. Peace out.